You know, if it wasn't UFC, I'd probably be cooking meth in a trailer in prison, so.
Over the past couple of years, Sean Strickland has risen to become one of the most beloved fighters on the UFC's roster and has recently broken into the top 5 of the prestigious middleweight division's rankings. Strickland boasts an impressive record of 27 wins and just 5 losses and is widely appreciated by MMA fans for his fun, in-your-face, stand-up style. All of this has helped him earn a title shot against middleweight king Israel Adesanya, with the pair set to face off in Sydney at UFC 293 next month as Strickland attempts to touch UFC gold for the first time. However, what's accelerated the 32-year-old's ascension, perhaps even more than the solid work that he's been putting inside the octagon, is his outspoken personality and unapologetically controversial opinions. You see, Sean doesn't really care about social norms and doesn't really filter what comes out of his mouth, which, as you can imagine, doesn't exactly delight the company that employs and platforms him, especially when it's worth an estimated $12+ billion. Join me today as we take a look at the 7 things that the UFC may not want you to know about Sean Strickland. Number 1. He was a neo-Nazi growing up. When Sean was a boy, he actually followed neo-Nazi ideologies that were taught to him by his racist grandfather. His fascination with the subject grew when he watched the film American History X and strongly resonated with the main character Derek, who begins the film as a hateful white supremacist, who Strickland claims he hero worshipped. The antisocial behavior that Sean demonstrated due to this actually resulted in him being kicked out of multiple schools for hate speech and hate crimes. Speaking on the Joe Rogan Experience, he said, "I remember in the 7th grade, I was 12 years old. I took a permanent marker and I drew a swastika on my arm, and the teacher took me outside and berated me and pretty much called me a piece of You're a fucking piece of he said. At no point was he like, hey man, why does this 12-year-old kid have a swastika on his arm? Thankfully, Sean quickly grew out of this phase as he progressed through his adolescence and began training MMA, which he attributes to getting his life together. Number 2. He had an extremely abusive father growing up. It goes without saying that there are many things more important to a child's development than having a positive male role model to look up to. And for many boys, that positive male role model comes in the form of their father. Not for Sean, however, who openly admits to having, and I quote, a real piece of for a dad. Now, where do we start when describing Strickland Sr.? Perhaps the best way to give you an idea of what Sean's father was like is through this short story that Strickland told to Rogan on his appearance on the JRE back in July. He said, I used to sleep in my mom's bed a lot, right? Because I thought my dad was going to kill my mom. So every night I used to go to bed thinking, my mom's going to die tonight. His words, not mine. So I used to sleep by her door and hear them all the time. Imagine being a little kid, dude, and listening to your mom getting by your dad because you're so afraid she's going to die. So there's one night, dude, probably the 3rd or 4th grade, and I go to sleep in my mom's room, but my dad's like, that. They're having a bad fight. So I'm laying out by the door, and I'm like, it. I just don't feel good about this tonight. So I go in and crawl under the bed, and my dad gets on top of my mom, and he said, I'm gonna kill you tonight. And he starts strangling her, right? So I get up, and the first thing I see is a guitar, my sister's guitar. I grab the guitar, smashed it on his head, grab the phone, and call the cops. Then my mom, that dumb bails him out of jail the next day. A grandfather who teaches you to hate people based on their race, a father who threatens to murder your mother every other night in front of you, and a mother who is so infatuated with him that she allows the abuse to continue. Sean didn't exactly hit the lotto with the family that he was born into. How's that for a turbulent childhood? Number 3. He almost murdered a man at a house party. With a psycho father to live with, it's no surprise that Sean wasn't always too far from trouble himself in his teenage years. On one drunken night, Sean went to a house party with a few of his buddies and ended up getting into an argument which almost resulted in him being charged with first-degree murder. Have a listen to Strickland telling the story himself on the UFC Unfiltered podcast.
Bro, it was so dumb, dude. I was in some house gathering in Elsinore. My buddy goes and grabs me, right? And I throw him in a wall. He puts a hole in the wall. Girlfriend comes downstairs and says, hey, pay for the wall. I'm like, listen, I'm sorry. I don't even know you guys. He's your friend. Have him do it. And then the girlfriend comes back downstairs again and was like, hey, my boyfriend's listening. I really think you should do it. I really think you should pay for it. And I could kind of tell she had some fear in her eyes. So, me being I'm like, well, I walk up the stairs. I'm like, hey, well, listen, man, if you want me to pay for the wall, you can come suck my and earn that money. Next thing you know, dude comes down, shotgun, puts in my head, tells me I'm going to gonna kill me. So I put my hands up. I'm like, man, dude, I'm so sorry. I up. He's like, you. And then I grabbed the gun. Obviously, I just put my hands up, just don't shoot me. Grabbed the gun, started slamming his head through the wall. And then he fell down, kneed him in the face, took the shotgun, and I pointed the gun at him. And it was that split second of rationalizing. Girlfriend jumps on top and starts crying, begging for his life. It was really awkward at that moment. And then I literally took the round out of the gun, gave it back to him. He was all bloody. I walked away.
Thank God he didn't pull the trigger. Otherwise, he wouldn't be where he is today. One step away from being crowned the best 185-pound fighter in the world. Number 4. He regularly fantasizes about murder. Now, speaking of murder, despite being grateful to the gods that he didn't kill that dude at the house party we just spoke about, that doesn't mean that Strickland doesn't still fantasize about committing an M from time to time. Even though he's no longer carrying the large amount of anger that he did as a kid, thanks to MMA, Sean said to Rogan that, "I still want to kill somebody. It would just make me feel good, I would just love it." He also had this to say after he defeated fellow UFC middleweight and his former sparring partner, Uriah Hall, back in 2021. Check this out.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that, man. If you like to hurt people, you're in the right sport, man. I would love nothing more than to kill someone in the ring. Nothing more. It would make me super happy. I would own that too. I don't know if it'd make me liable. I might have to say I'm sorry if the cops came, but I would own that. Own it, man. Be a psychopath. It's fun.
See you later.
Well, thank the Lord I'm not a UFC middleweight and never have to step foot in an octagon with Sean Strickland. Thank you, God. Number 5. He believes women should get back in the kitchen. Coming in at number 5 is the fact that Sean wants society to regress 70 years and revert back to the cultural and social norms that America and the world abided by in the 1950s. Now, that means that women should not work, TikTok should not exist, and well, I'll just let him explain it in full himself.
So, forwarding to these dirty Brazilians, it was nice, man. They have a good community. They barbecue, they hang out. It was some good wholesome shit, man. Americans, we need to go back to taking women out of the workforce, and maybe that's where we fucked up, you guys. We let women vote. No offense, but let me I want to tell you guys something. Think about America prior to women voting. They try to ban alcohol. I don't even drink, but I'm not trying to ban alcohol. So what you did, man, you let these women come in the workforce. Now we make less money. You got kids raising themselves on TikTok. We need to go back to 1942, especially after, maybe 1958 after we up the Germans. We need to put women back in the kitchen. We need to take, only one man needs to be working. So I think as a collective man group, we need to elect somebody that's going to put women back in the kitchen, put one man working, raise the wages, and build a wall.
Have you ever thought about going to therapy, Sean?
For what?
Something tells me he won't be getting in touch with a therapist anytime soon. Number 6. He admits he is a sociopath. As you probably already worked out for yourself, Strickland isn't the most socialized member of society, shall we say. Speaking with Rogan on his JRE episode, Sean told him a short story about when he came home and found his father in a not-so-ideal situation. He said, "So I'm 17, I come home, my dad's sitting there with my brother's 45, a really cool 45, and he's sitting there talking about not going on anymore. And I'm like, Dad, you should do it, man. Your wife's her boss, cheating on you, you're poor, you're a drug addict. Where's your path to success from here? Where's your happy ending?" When you're a minor sociopath, you kind of get power out of that. I want to make him do it. Yeah, swiftly moving on. Number 7. He hates Ronda Rousey. Unless you've only gotten into the sport of MMA within the last couple of years, when you hear the term women's MMA, the first name you think of is probably Ronda Rousey. The now 36-year-old famously disproved UFC president Dana White's claim that women will never fight in the UFC, and quickly rose to become the face of the company around a decade ago. Rousey quickly racked up a record of 12-0 and finished 11 of those fights in the first round, with most of the wins coming through her signature armbar submission. However, when she shockingly dropped her title to Holly Holm at UFC 193 in one of the biggest upsets in UFC history, Ronda took a break from the sport. The worldwide superstar went on The Ellen DeGeneres Show and revealed to the world that she had contemplated not continuing with her life after the loss. Sean, however, could not comprehend how a loss in a mixed martial arts bout could put a human being in that state of mind, and said the following about Ronda on his episode of Food Truck Diaries with Brendan Schaub. Let me tell you why I hate Ronda Rousey. So she goes on Ellen DeGeneres, who's a known by the way, and she says after her loss, she thought about not living anymore. After that, I was like, you're the weakest human being I've ever heard speak. I hate her, like mental midget. Well, there's being an empath, and then there's being Sean Strickland. So guys, to wrap things up, other than being a sexist, former white supremacist, psychopathic misogynist who has almost murdered multiple people and admits to being a raging sociopath, he's really not that bad a guy. No, but on a serious level, despite still having some fairly questionable takes, Strickland serves as an example of how, with the right focus, dedication, and perseverance, you can overcome serious childhood trauma, grow out of your formerly deranged beliefs that were wrongly imposed on you as a child, and turn your life around to become one of the top performers in your field of work. And you know what? He does this all while entertaining millions of people in the process. Good job, Sean.
Would you like to learn some Chinese?
Sorry, how do I say work harder, child?
Thanks for watching. Be sure to drop a like on the video, sub to the channel, and we'll see you next time.